So, with the Nintendo Switch 2 being fully announced now, a lot of us have been asking a question about Animal Crossing New Horizons and the future of our islands. And surprisingly, Nintendo has actually spoken out specifically about Animal Crossing New Horizons and the process of bringing our islands over to the new console, the Nintendo Switch 2, and exactly how that will work, as well as some other very intriguing details that I definitely think you'll want to know about. Nintendo actually did an interview with Polygon about transferring over your save data from Nintendo Switch to Nintendo Switch 2, where you can do a complete system transfer from your original Nintendo Switch, moving over literally everything, including Animal Crossing New Horizons. And interestingly, they spoke specifically about our islands, which was kind of a surprise to me. As quoted here, "So, I should clarify that when you do the system transfer, everything like save data will remain on the Nintendo Switch, and once it moves to the Nintendo Switch 2 as well, but the Animal Crossing island will be an actual move, so it will leave Nintendo Switch and move over to Nintendo Switch 2. Now, I was a little bit confused by this statement at first, but effectively what it means is you won't be able to keep your island on both your Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2. You can only have it on one console or the other. So if you move your island over to Nintendo Switch 2, it'll no longer exist on the original Nintendo Switch, perhaps unlike some other games. I guess the main reason for this is they don't want you to clone your island. They don't want two versions of your New Horizons island to exist, which is definitely understandable. Now currently, if you want to transfer over your save data, there are two methods of you actually doing so. You can save it to the cloud via the saving feature, which you can get if you are a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber. However, this can only be retrieved if something goes wrong with your Nintendo Switch. You'll have to contact Nintendo, and from there, they'll be able to back up your island using the last backup that was saved. However, there was another way, which was the Island Transfer Tool app on the Nintendo Switch, where you can transfer your island from one console to another. So if you've got a working Nintendo Switch, you could bring it over to another. And I think a few of us assumed we might use this app again in order to transfer over our islands to Nintendo Switch 2, but that is not the case. On Nintendo Switch 2, there will be a feature where you can do a full system transfer, making the process a lot more streamlined. You don't have to do anything specific for Animal Crossing, which is good. But there is one big caveat to this, which I do think is really important to note. You will have to have your Nintendo Switch present if you want to transfer over your island data to your new Switch 2. I know some people are taking advantage of deals where you can trade in your original Nintendo Switch and you'll get some money off the Switch 2. But it is really important to note that if you trade it in, you won't be able to keep your save data for New Horizons. That will disappear. So you'd either have to keep your original Nintendo Switch around or do the system transfer and then sell your original Switch separately. But basically you'd have to buy a Nintendo Switch 2 before getting rid of your original console. Now, alternatively, you could just start over from scratch on your new Nintendo Switch 2, load up Animal Crossing New Horizons with your Nintendo account via the eShop, and then play a new save file whilst keeping your save data on the original Switch, or alternatively, transfer over your island to Nintendo Switch 2, and then play on a new save file on your original Nintendo Switch, which I think is kind of a fun opportunity if you are planning on getting the new console. So yes, our islands will be safe on Nintendo Switch 2, which is definitely fantastic news, and I'm glad that Nintendo addressed this specifically. They don't often speak out about things related to New Horizons since it's been so long since the game last got an update, so I'm glad that they have clarified this for those of us who were a bit worried. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Will you be transferring over your save data to Nintendo Switch 2 if you get the console? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you made it to the end, be sure to comment Bob's Gang so I know you did. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe and turn on notifications for more.